So these rules always have to be followed. Which is one of the good things about cryptocurrencies, that it's decentralized, so that rule can never be broken. As an investor, it's actually quite scary for your money to go to zero. Last year, I think the dollar actually printed out 40% of its entire supply. That's very, very scary as an investor, and this is one of the reasons why cryptocurrency is actually very, very attractive. Yeah, so a cryptocurrency is just a set of protocols which actually dictate how the entire environment should run. There's a lot of benefits to it that our financial system that we're using at the moment doesn't actually have. One of the main ones is actually smart contracts, and I'll go into that later. But yeah. So yeah, let's keep going. So minting. Why is Bitcoin at like $50,000? It can't be making value out of nothing. The reason it's doing this is actually because it's converting energy into money. You can't do something called mining Bitcoin if you aren't able to get that energy cheap enough. Therefore, Bitcoin has to hold its value because it's actually using an actual physical commodity to create. Bitcoin is a bit outdated, however. Mining is something which is only really used for Bitcoin and, I guess, old currencies. For people who don't know, mining is basically where your computer does a lot of really, really difficult tasks to get rewarded with currency. I think at the moment for Bitcoin, you'll be rewarded 6 Bitcoin every 10 minutes if you solve an equation. That's about $300,000 every 10 minutes. Newer coins don't use mining. They'll use something called proof of stake, and this is really, really energy friendly. So again, this isn't creating value out of nothing, though. You're giving up your money and you're locking it just to be able to maybe get money in the future. And that's really, really what separates this from traditional currencies that we use today. You can print money out of nothing. And that's scary, to be honest. So yeah, there's a lot of things that have been tested out for mining. Some of my favorite ones are listed below. If you have a spare hard drive, you can actually put it into storage mining. Some coins out there actually have the ability to host data on them, and they can use your hard drive to do that, and you can get paid for that. I think at one point you were getting paid $20 a day for every terabyte you were giving, which for people who don't know, that's a lot. Okay. So yeah, a lot of other things have been done. If you have a really, really fast internet, you can give it up to a network, and you can get paid a lot of money for that. So yeah, I'm going to go through a couple of coins just to show what rules they might have. So Bitcoin is public, but it's also anonymous. Every single transaction you make on Bitcoin is visible to everyone, but you don't actually know who's behind the account. Smart contracts, I'll get into that in the future or soon, but they're very, very basic. And miners are giving rewards every 10 minutes, currently at 6 Bitcoin, but in 4 years' time, they'll halve to 3, which makes it deflationary. At the moment with dollars, pounds, etc., we're actually speeding up how much we're making, whilst Bitcoin is actually decreasing. We actually don't have a maximum supply on the amount of money we can make, or print, I guess, but all these coins do, or at least some of them. Ethereum is quite similar, but the main difference is the fact that we actually do have smart contracts, which are very, very in-depth, and you'll see soon that that changes everything. So there's no maximum supply, but there'll be something called banning in every single transaction. So when you make a transaction with Ethereum, they don't have a supply cap. However, part of your transaction will actually get destroyed. This will keep a relative cap on it, but it doesn't keep anything actually there. Monero is another cryptocurrency, which is quite popular. It's a bit different because not only are you anonymous on it, but you are completely anonymous. It's completely impossible to track you. No one can do it, not government, not anyone. So take that as you wish, but yeah, I'm just showing you a couple different ones. Anyways, a wallet. It's essentially the same thing as a physical wallet. You can store all your money inside, except there's the added benefit that you can interact with smart contracts. It will essentially act as your username almost. If you have like a Google account, you can log into, I don't know, Gmail, Google Drive, etc. You can do the exact same thing with smart contracts, except anyone can make an app, which is really, really, really impressive, and I'll show you why. Okay, these are a few scenarios I quite like. On the left is a picture of someone who actually had his house stolen legally. Someone actually found the documents for his house, and it wasn't written who owned the house correctly. So someone actually sold someone else's house, and someone else bought it legally, and he found that his house actually got bought. On the top right is a COVID vaccine proof, and on the bottom right is Enron, which is very, very popular for accounting fraud. Why am I showing you this? In none of these things is there any proof of validity, if that makes sense. You can, as you can see, someone got their house stolen. You can't prove that you own your house, almost. Maybe you have your signature on some documents, but it's still not a lot. Top right, you can kind of just honestly write out your own vaccine. It's no big deal. And on the bottom right, Enron, which was a huge, huge company, they got caught for accounting fraud. So the reason I'm releasing this to cryptocurrency is because cryptocurrency uses something called a blockchain. A blockchain is almost really, really impressive. So you'll store everything, and you'll store it usually publicly. So the amount of money you have in your account is public to everyone. You're anonymous on it, but that data is public. Every single transaction you make is public. Every time you interact with a smart contract, it's public. This is quite important. It means that every single transaction in the future will be stored in the current transactions. Every transaction in the past will be stored in current transactions. So if we go back here, if you literally make a transaction now, I'll send £10 to my friend. The data of this person's house, the COVID vaccines, and accounting of companies will get stored in me sending that £10 over, which means that it's impossible to change the past. This is more done as well because, well, for example, Bitcoin might have millions of computers out there, which are actually millions of computers out there that are, I guess, storing that data. You can't change millions of computers' data at a time. But if you hack into Google, you only need to hack into one computer because it's centralized. So yeah, there's a lot of potential with blockchain. This is kind of what it would look like. You see at the bottom, like you burn your fees. That's yeah, and then yeah, this is basically what a block would look like in the blockchain, and you'll have millions of these, and these will occur about every 3 seconds, and every block is essentially when the transactions are processed. Bitcoin's blocks are every 10 minutes, so it will take you 10 minutes to send a transaction over. Okay, so smart contracts, and this is when things get really, really, really interesting. Okay, so essentially, a smart contract is like a regular contract, except it's digital, and it's public, and everyone has to agree to it, or the transaction will revert or not happen in the first place. I'm actually going to use some smart contracts live here in a bit, so that'll be quite interesting. The main point, though, is that smart contracts can be literally anything, but are usually decentralized apps or cryptocurrencies. Okay, so what is a decentralized app? So they are built on top of smart contracts. They can do basically anything, but they are usually restricted to financial areas, though technically could do anything. The most popular ones today are lending. I can give up £10 and someone else can borrow that £10. Staking is essentially, I'll put in some money to help validate and decentralize the system, and I'll be rewarded for that. Liquidity pools, that is essentially me helping make other coins tradable. And then obviously voting is something which is quite important today. Believe it or not, it's actually quite easy to make a fake vote. And with blockchain, you really, really can prevent that. So this is today. I literally took this screenshot before I left my class. This is a lending platform on crypto. You can see here, I am lending Aqua at the top for a yield of 0.5% every single day. And people can borrow that and I guess do whatever they want with that money as long as I get an interest. What's interesting though is you're very, very incentivized to actually use this. On the right side is what you can borrow. And if you actually look down, you're actually getting paid to borrow stuff like Ethereum. People are paying you to borrow money. I just find that insane, but yeah, it happens. This is another place, another app. This is a more popular one. So here you'll give up a single asset and you'll get paid money for doing that. Obviously, it's risky as what you're supplying might decrease in value, but yeah, it's impressive. Okay, this is voting. Anyone can make a proposal. If you want, I don't know, change in the UK, you can vote for a new party, for example, but you can't make a proposal. This is one of the benefits of cryptocurrency is that every single project, generally, it's all community driven. So on the left, people are making proposals, and on the right, someone is actually passing the proposal. You can see 99% of people voted for this. And one of my coins today actually was being dismissed by the community or the developing team. I think I have the picture here. So the coin was getting seriously dismissed by the development team. But I guess I didn't take the picture recently enough. But a vote was taken, and the community decided on something really, really good that the development team hadn't thought about and really changed the outcome of this. Anyways, yeah. Your voting power isn't the same as voting here. In the government, each of us get one vote. In cryptocurrency voting, your voting power is actually based on how much you have invested in the coin. So someone who has more money in the coin probably knows more about how to make it work than someone who's smaller, and therefore they get a higher priority. It might be biased, but yeah, it works. So yeah, here's the vote that happened today, or recently at least. Anyways, another decentralized app is a decentralized exchange, and this is when things get really, really, really powerful. If anyone here is doing stocks, which is probably the case, you'll know it's not open 24/7. Crypto kind of fixes that issue. We are always open, it's never closed. There's a bunch of other issues which get solved as well. If you do stocks, I don't know if you use Trading 212 or Robinhood, something like that, you'll notice it's actually, well, they say commission-free, but someone has to be giving that that share that you're getting, and it's actually not on the market because it is so cheap. It's actually something called a market maker, and they'll do something called liquidity pooling, and I'll get into that just after this, but it is really, really impressive. So yeah, people are incentivized to provide money to the decentralized exchange as they'll get rewarded actual coins for it. So yeah, and they'll have like these crazy algorithms to actually bridge the gap between different coins, so they will always be tradable. Okay, so the pros and cons of decentralized exchanges. The pros definitely outweigh the cons in my opinion. You'll never ever be traced, which for me, I do computer science, I like my privacy. I feel like people know too much. No verification will ever be needed. And since you're always holding onto your money, you can never be technically, well, no one can run away with your money if you're the one holding it. So yeah. So something with liquidity pools is impermanent loss. So liquidity pooling is really interesting. You'll hold two assets. I don't know if that's, I guess with stocks you might hold Apple and you might hold pounds. And you'll hold 50-50 of each. So let's say, I don't know how much an Apple share is today. Maybe let's say like $300. And then you'll hold $300 of pounds as well. And that means if someone makes a transaction to you, You can give them either pounds or Apple stock if that's what they want, and you can do either way. So you see at the top here, you're paid 700% APR, which is incredible. The reason for this is that it's very, very risky at the top to supply that. So you're getting paid a lot to actually do that. So here's an example of a liquidity pool, which you'll use in a decentralized exchange. So you have a pool that gives you 0.3% every day. This is a actually realistic amount, which is insane. The initial values for token A is $500 and token B $200. If token A moves up and token B moves down, you'll actually lose 5% of your position. But because you're paid 0.3% every day, you'll actually make 10% in that time. So yeah, we have this picture. I'll actually put some of my money into this in a second. But here is something interesting as well. You can actually buy shares in crypto, which are backed by real shares. But not only that, you can go a step further and stake them, make them tradable. Let's say you really, really, really believe in, I don't know, Twitter. You'll buy a crypto share of Twitter, you'll put it in a fund, and you'll get paid for holding that. You can go a step further again. You can buy a long position for Twitter and a short position for Twitter. You can put them in a farm, and you'll get paid the difference of each. So let's say our top is Coinbase here. You have a long farm, which is 10% a year, and a short farm, which is 18% a year. You hold one share of each. You'll get paid 14% a year for relatively, basically no risk. I'm not saying you should do this, it's not financial advice, but it's crazy that this is even possible. The money will come from trade fees, in case you're wondering. Okay, so I've actually got, I've logged in to PancakeSwap here. PancakeSwap is a decentralized exchange. I have a tiny bit of money that I put aside for this presentation, because I've wanted to do this anyways. I am currently holding $100 of BNB, and I want to put that into a pool, and I'll do that right now. So the first thing I'll do is I'll choose what pool I want to go to, or farm in this case. In this case, if I sort by APR, this is not at all what we should do. This is just something I want to do to show here. Here I have something called Eternal BNB. Eternal will be a liquidity pool, and people can give me BNB, and I'll give them Eternal, or they can do the other way around. So what if I actually view this contract, and I'll actually see that, okay, if I go to the pair, I'll get the contract address, which is a smart contract. Just give it a second to load. Okay, awesome. So if I take one Eternal token, this is the token up here. This is the address for that. If I actually trade it, understand. So I have imported Eternal. I'm going to trade some BNB for it, which I have here. I'm going to put half of it in there because obviously, as I said, we need a 50-50 split. So I guess I'll actually go a tiny bit below 50% just so I can cover the gas fees. In case you're wondering, gas fees are essentially how much money it takes to make a transaction. So here, let's say I put, I don't know, 0.08 BNB. I can actually swap that, confirm swap. So I'm going to verify this on my phone. Okay, I might not be logged in. Okay. Okay, I've confirmed this on my phone. Transaction has been submitted, and now I'll wait for it to get to my wallet. So let's see how long it takes. This is a real transaction, by the way. There it is. I've transacted 0.08 BNB, which is about $50, I think. And now I'll provide liquidity between both of them, and I can do that here. So I'll select a currency, which is BNB, and I'll select a second currency, which I want it to be tradable between, which I'll choose Eternal. If I put the maximum amount of Eternal and the maximum amount of BNB, I can now make a pool. So first of all, I need to enable this smart contract because I want it to be active. I'll confirm that on my phone. I'll wait for that transaction to go through, and then I'll supply it, and then I'll put it into the farm, and then we'll see what happens next. So this will be a smart contract here on a decentralized exchange. So here, transaction has gone through. I can supply it now. Confirm. Okay, just give me a second. Confirm. Perfect. Okay, so here I'm giving the decentralized exchange those two tokens, and they'll give me back another token, which counts as something called a farm token. Okay, transaction was denied. Why? Okay. Okay. Just give it a second. So yeah, one of the main reasons these are not so popular is because they're a tiny bit slow. Okay, let's hope that works this time. Since these are quite a volatile pair, I think the reason it was denied was because the price value between them changed a bit too quickly. Again, not working. Okay, this is getting a bit embarrassing. Okay. Insufficient amount. Okay, if I actually turn this down a bit, put this like that, supply. Okay. Okay, so in case you don't actually know what I'm doing, I'm essentially trying to make these two pairs of coins tradable between each other. And I'll be rewarded for doing that. Okay. I think the amount I was trying to put in was a bit too much, so hopefully that'll fix it. Okay. Well, I have honestly no idea why it's not working. Okay. I really have no idea why it's not working. I guess maybe, I don't think the university is blocking it, but anyways. Okay. Okay, whilst waiting for this to work, what do I think crypto can be used for in the real world? I've already mentioned the voting aspect of it. I think that's really, really important for real world value. I think not even for governments, I think even for, if you're a shareholder, you deserve to have more of a say in your company because technically you are an owner of that company. I think you'll have a shareholder meeting once every year, maybe have a tiny vote there, but it's not easy enough. And yeah, maybe you can have decentralized companies where you have a vote if you're a shareholder, and maybe that will be better. So the transaction actually went through. So if I actually supply this over here, APR. By the way, if anyone has any questions, just please do ask. Okay, so I'm now trying to enable the farm. This basically means that I let the farm use the money which I've supplied. And we'll see this happen in a second. Okay. Okay, as you can see, it's a bit tiny bit slow, but it is so useful. And so this is something called decentralized finance, and I really recommend learning more about it. It's really growing insanely. I think it's nearing, I have no clue how much money is inside, but if we go to something like this, just to show how big it's growing. Yeah, in the last year alone, it went from being a $500 million market to 250 billion. That's like what, I'm not good at fast maths, but that's like what, 500 times growth or something incredible. So yeah, it is clearly likely to continue climbing, not financial advice again. But yeah, it's not something which we want to let happen without being a part of it, or at least doing our research about it. I'm just waiting for this to load, and then I'll put my money into it, and maybe we'll see the farming start. Okay. Okay, for some reason the transaction is not going to my phone. Hopefully that's fine. Let's try it 1 or 2 more times, and if that doesn't work, I'll just end it. Okay. For some reason the transaction doesn't go to my phone. I'm going to try to do it from my phone, and you'll be able to see it there. Otherwise, I think it's just very convenient to be in crypto. The only things you would do outside of crypto are really, I guess, foreign exchange, messing around with shares and stuff like bonds, which are all being transferred to crypto. Foreign exchange and shares are already in crypto, and you can really do everything you can do otherwise. You can borrow money if you want to go into leverage positions. I just think as an investor, it's so much more interesting to be in crypto than anything else at the moment. Yeah, does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. I'm just trying to get this to work because it's really incredible when it does. The reason it isn't working is because I'm using a wallet which isn't on the computer, because obviously this isn't my computer. But yeah. Okay. So I'm on the same page on my phone. I'm going to enable the farm, which I've just done now. I'm not sure if it will come up instantly. And then I'm going to, well, I guess you'll just see in a second. Okay, so I think the transaction has finally gone through. I'll read the page in a second, and we'll be able to see this in progress. So the reason I'm doing this is to make these two things tradable. And the reason that's interesting for me is because I'll be rewarded in 2 ways. Whenever anyone makes a trade, I'll get a fee from that because I'll be the market maker instead of someone else. And I'll also be incentivized through a governance token, which allows me to vote, and that governance token will be called Cake. So, okay, I guess it just showed up here. So I put $90 in, and I guess over time, you'll see that that should rise pretty slowly because it's quite a small position. But yeah, it is quite interesting. In theory, if I leave that there for a year, I'll get a 7 times return if that value doesn't change. So you can see why this is really, really interesting as an investor. So yeah.